Today I wanted to show some behind the scenes of how I package my Etsy orders for Bumble and Bee. From personalised adoption cards to book page flowers and the little pine cones that I pick myself and pop into every box, I've arrived to a really happy place with my packaging, and I actually love the process now. It's exactly the brand story that I want to tell, and is something, in a rare occurrence for me, I do feel proud of. So I'm going to sock it to the mind muggles and share it with you all today. Before bumbling along into it, I do want to give a really quick shout out to Lauren Fairweather. She is one of my favourite channels to watch and has her own Etsy store, Fairweather Friends. She also does seriously good craft tutorials. She recently filmed a magical video on Etsy packaging and how you can go that extra mile as a small business to make your order as spectacular as can be. So now it's on to me. My packaging always begins with business cards and adoption cards. When my business cards first arrived in the post, it was a bit of a pinch me moment. I think anyone who's a small business can relate to that. Seeing your brand on a little card, even 12 months on now, it still feels a bit surreal every time I pick one up.
I initially left my business cards blank or just popped a little thank you on the back.
A few months ago, I started to think about how I could try and get more reviews. People were giving me 5-star ratings, and I was even getting people doing unboxings on Instagram, which is, again, a bit of a pinch me moment.
But they weren't leaving reviews on the actual store.
However, being me, I found it really hard to just write, "Please leave a review." So I came up with this little poem, which you can see now.
It's just another way that you can tell it's a small business, even right down to how slightly cheesy the rhyme is.
Along with my business cards, the other thing that I put in all my crochet orders is the adoption card. I've always done adoption cards, right down to the first house elf I ever sold over a year ago. However, at the beginning, it was simply a blank postcard that I wrote on the back. In the spring of 2018, I received a discount code from Vistaprint. Vistaprint? We'll go with Vista.
So that's when I decided to get some slightly bigger business cards and use them as my adoption cards. Of all the digital artwork I've done, the Dolby graphic that I created for Beats Eating Disorders Awareness Week holds a very special place in my heart.
So I decided to incorporate that where my CEO, Chief Elf Operator, Sir Bumble, certifies that this beast is free to fly off to their chosen home. Sir Bumble obviously comes from my brand name, but Sir Bumble is also the name of the first house elf I ever crocheted, and he's staying with me always because I simply can't bear to part with him. Then on the back of these cards, I write a personalised note from the beastie to their chosen person. I always like to find out if they're a gift or not to make sure I get the name right. On a very early order, I did have an incident. The name on the Etsy account was the person's middle name. So I immediately got to work writing out a new adoption card. They had no idea it was being sent. They didn't ask for it to be sent. But it's those kind of things that, for me, really characterise a small business. I knew there was just that little bit of magic missing that I could make right. Go that extra mile and make sure every order is as magical as possible. All my adoption cards start with the same line, which is, "Thank you so much for adopting me. I solemnly swear to ... and then I personalise it, often based on the beastie's biography on Etsy. So if they're a house elf, they might be spectacularly dressed. A niffler may love you more than all the golden Gringotts. If they're a pygmy puff, they might be kind, loyal, and ridiculously fluffy. And I sometimes do little doodles on as well." As you can see, it is all very personalised. It has a definite homemade feel, but I like to think that's just a little part of its magic. And based on some of the wonderful things people have said on Instagram about it, they seem to agree. And now it's time to package it all up. After spending the best part of a year raiding every corner of the house for spare cardboard boxes, questionable attempts to make my own boxes, or buying the ridiculously expensive boxes from the post office, I now use mailer boxes because I trust that they'll get there safely, and it also reduces your overall packaging. Most recently, I've been ordering them from Staples because they had an amazing deal on, And they also don't send them in another huge cardboard box, which I was finding in other places I'd ordered from. They simply stack the flat pack boxes and wrap around the middle once. When it comes to making my business more eco-friendly, I've been inspired a lot by Ellis Woolley, a simply spectacular small business owner who's talked a lot about eco-packaging on her channel. On a side note, she is one of my favourite channels to watch, someone who really inspired me to start doing studio vlogs, and has a wonderful business called Pastel Alexa, which I seriously recommend you check out. So now the boxes are made, it's time for my favourite part, which is putting it all together. Alongside my Crochet SPEW Crew, I also sell digital art on my Etsy store and like to pop a smaller version of my prints into every one of my crochet orders. So that's always the first thing to go into the box. I then add some shredded tissue. I wanted it to have this really rustic feel, almost like a little woodland home for my beastie to stay warm and cosy in as they fly off to their always home. And on that note, it's finally time for the chosen beastie to go into their burrow, along with the business card, adoption card, and one final little surprise. This part always brings a smile to my face because I think of Rowan Atkinson in Love Actually. I sometimes put in book page flowers or these little vials which I call books in a bottle. So I fill these vials with the tiny hearts that are punched out of secondhand books, in this case Harry Potter. And then I put in some little nature sprigs, put the top on and pop that in the box. Finally, in what has become a signature of my packages, I put in a couple of acorns or pine cones or conkers, again linking into the nature theme with my brand Bumble and Bee, and by the end you have what is a little home for the creature to be sent off in. Finally, it's just time to add the stickers. My current favourite is the bigger one with the niffler on the front, which just makes me smile every time I stick it on. So yes, that is my packaging. I've definitely evolved from my old shoebox and mailer bag days. I realise that it may not be for everyone. It is very whimsical, definitely an item that you'd be more likely to find under Luna Lovegood's Christmas tree than Hermione Granger. That being said, she is a crazy yarn lady herself, as my SPEW Crew will be very quick to remind me. But that's just one of the reasons why it works for me, Bumble and Bee, and the brand story I want to create. The way I like to see it is that every time you buy from a small business, it's like casting a little spell to keep that person's dream alive. I want to give as much magic back to them as I possibly can.
So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Do let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular you'd like to see. It could be a yarn haul, SPEW Crew crochet tutorial, or simply more general Harry Potter content. However, to paraphrase J.K. Rowling, where your creativity is, there your heart will be also. And my heart is the SPEW Crew.